Hello, everybody. It's Jimmy Smith here from Wine with Jimmy. Thank you for clicking by. This is a wine educational channel designed to help all of you in the world of wine get more from it. So it is very much following syllabus of wine qualifications. So here we're following the Diploma of the WSET. But if you are just an avid enthusiast, you'll find this information very interesting with lots of great detailed maps and, of course, wonderful pictures too. So we are looking at the Dão part of Portugal. So this is series 4 of 7. And we're on the middle part here of this series, part 2, looking at really the growing environment and grape growing. If you do have any comments or questions, it would be lovely to hear from you. Please do drop us a comment on this video below. Perhaps you like the wines of Portugal. You have a favorite grape variety. You like Dão. You've visited. It would be great to have that kind of connection. This is a free video. The other parts, part 1 and part 3, only available to those of you who subscribe to my e-learning portal. And you'll find the information for that over at winewithjimmy.com. Okay, let's talk about the Dão area. So harvest sizes here, first of all. Let's just talk about what kind of production level one finds from here. I detailed the location in the previous video. You'll see it up here again on the left-hand side. So we have the green area on the Mondrejo River. And this is south of the areas like Vinho Verde in the Minho area, where we find Oporto City, and also the Douro Valley, and to the east of Bairrada, which is the area just on the coast to the left, the west of your green area on that map. And then we've highlighted again, or rather we have blown up, magnified on the right-hand side, the sub-regions that one finds in Dão. Those sub-regions, by the way, are Alva, Bestieros, Questendo, Serra da Estrela, Silgueiros, Terras de Arzarara, and Terras de Senarim. They're your major parts of the subzones. You can find those subzones on some labels next to the word Dão. Now, in terms of production numbers, we normally have somewhere around 200,000 hectolitres being produced. In 2017, it was almost a record high of 255,000. But in 2018, the year before, it was a 10-year low of only 155,000 due to the Atlantic issues. And also, of course, things like frost. So we have a fairly significant production here, but not as large as some of the ones we've been talking about previously in the series that we went through before. So a little bit on the climate and weather here. So we're going to talk about a macroclimate, but of course with those subzones and rivers that run into the Mondrejo and the Dão itself, there are mesoclimates and even microclimates. So please bear that in mind. Overall, we would say this is a Mediterranean climate with warm, dry summers and mild winters. Rainfall is relatively high. In the west of the region, so that is where you find Bestieros, for example, the rainfall can be up to 1,600 millimeters per year. And then in the east, around 1,100 millimeters per year. But being a Mediterranean climate, most of that rainfall is late autumn and winter based. So it still remains quite dry throughout the growing season. Now, the Dão region is framed by 3 mountain massifs, the Busaco, the Caramulo, and the Serra da Estrela. And that protects it from the cool maritime weather conditions from the west and warmer, more arid conditions from the east and south. So on this map, you will see there is a place called Coimbra. There is the mountain range of the Caramulo Mountains, okay, in the middle of your map. There is the Serra da Estrela. So we are in the valley that sits between those two. So you can see there is some protection against the Atlantic, but still, of course, it's fairly rainy here. And then there's a plenty of protection from the arid landscape of kind of the interior of Spain, for example. So that is your topography that one finds here. So the region itself, therefore, has a mixed topography with a number of hills, valleys, and also mountain sides, giving a range of aspects and altitudes. And that's what creates these different mesoclimates within the landscape. But most vineyards will be found at about 400 to 500 meters altitude, but some are as low as 200 meters. And in the easternmost, the Serra de Estrella subregion, which I mentioned before, is kind of the southeast of the region, it can be as high, the vineyards here, as 900 meters. Now, all of this provides a moderating influence on daytime temperatures and, of course, maximizes the diurnal range, giving you colder nights and, of course, therefore, fresher acidities in the grapes. Now, the landscape here, the terroir, the DOC itself, which was highlighted in green on that previous map, it covers a large area, but only about 5% of that land is covered with vines, and that's around 20,000 hectares, probably just below that. The majority of the land is home to pine and eucalyptus forests, and these are said to be a real inherent part of the terroir. So there are eucalyptus oils and pine resin that can be in the atmosphere. This can get on grape skins. And when those grape skins are pressed, you tend to find this character in small percentages, but as a part of the character of the wine. So it's a little bit like the philosophy of the garrigue that you find in the south of France, around areas like the Rhône, the southern Rhône, and the Languedoc, for example, and Provence, where you tend to get these kind of herbal elements into the wines because of that terroir, garrigue being your kind of rosemary, thyme, and lavender that we find across that landscape. So similar here that you find in Dão as well. The geology. So the soils here are mainly weathered granite. As we mentioned, this is what is very important about the Dão River Valley itself that runs into the Mondrejo. And that is because, and I put the picture here with some wonderful granite slabs there, granite rocks. This is weathered granite and it has a sandy or loamy texture. They are very low in organic matter. They are free draining, as one expects with granite soils. And it constrains, it limits vigor, and it means that water stress can be an issue during ripening. Other hazards would actually be along hail and spring frosts in the flatter, low-lying vineyards, those at 200 meters, where mountain air descends and helps settle on the plains below. Okay, next up we are talking about, oops, being a bit slow, grape growing. There you are. So many of the vineyards are on gentle slopes, that you can see here, and bush vines, which very typically in many parts of Portugal were traditional. Most of the modern plantations here are either the double or single guillo, so replacement cane pruned, or like you see in your picture here, the horizontal up sort of form of the cordon trained with vertical shoot positioning. So that is rather typical in the landscape. So that's it for this presentation. The next one will go through the rather exciting list of grape varieties that we find here in Dão and then winemaking techniques around them. Please do join me for that video. That video, along with part one, are only available to those of you who subscribe to my e-learning portal, where there are thousands of videos available depending on what section you sign up for. We have lots of added resources, examination questions, flashcards. There are so many things to help you with your studies or your gain of knowledge. And if you do have a comment, you want to comment on the video itself, or perhaps you have been to one of the places I've mentioned in this series or in this video, or you like the area or a fan of Dão wines, get in touch, please. It'd be great to hear from you. But until next time, I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.